Well, I learned how to say ornithologist. Hey lovelies! Today we are going to be doing a book review for the Ornithologists Field Guide to Love by India Holton. I picked this up because it looked pretty, and that's okay. It's based in 1890. Let me double check. It's like a historical romance. Yeah, 1890. And it's a historical romance about bird scientists, ornithologists, and there's this competition for the clitoris. I really hope I'm saying that right. But we find out that it's not as it seems, and we follow Beth Pinkering. Yeah, I want to add a Pinkerington to it. But it's just Pinkering. And then Devin Lockley. I do like both of these main characters a lot. We also see Hippolyta, who, at like the beginning of each chapter, there's like a little snippet from the book that Hippolyta wrote called Birds Through a Sherry Glass, which I did really enjoy. I did enjoy that. And we also have Oberhofter. It's German. I'm attempting. But yeah, both Hippolyta and Oberhofter, they were like in a situationship throughout the book. I really wish we did see that more, but the few scenes, it was, I just wish we got a more enemies to lovers with those two. But our main duo, Beth and Devin, are very much rivals to lovers. They're not as hardcore. It's more just like a friendly rivalry. Rivalry. Good enough. Instead of like a hardcore one, which I did enjoy. I just don't know how I feel about it. But I did enjoy this book. There's not much plot-wise. It's kind of like a hint of a plot. It focuses a lot on like the romance, which I was okay with. I read this book. It's like an in-between book. It's a fun read. There's just not much substance to it in terms of plot-wise, which up to you if you want to read it. But yeah, let's get further into this. So I definitely want to talk about the romance first, since it's a romantic book and it leans heavily on the romance. It was a really cute romance. There was some adultier content. It wasn't as explicit as some other books, but if you don't want to read spice, good for you. Just whichever. It also continues with the whole book of like this adultier imagery. Yeah, I thought it was better than a few of the other romances I've read, because it does make a good distinction between love and lust. And there's some really cute moments where Devin is falling in love with not her body, but with her mind. And I really enjoyed that because it was better than a lot of, like, we joke about in the book community about like men writing women, and it wasn't like that at all. It was a very sweet book. There's a lot of humor in this. For example, they came across some Frenchmen after they were hijacking their boat, and Beth was trying to be super nice to them, and it did work. They became like almost friends in a sense, except she was kind of bad at French, so she accidentally told them that instead of her and her husband, who was Devin because it's 1890 and heaven forbid a woman be unmarried and out with a man unchaperoned, but instead of doing like a nice vacation, she tells these Frenchmen that her husband, the bane of her existence, and the scourge to her heart, has taken her to a trip to Europe. And these fishermen go, okay, do you need help? Blink twice. And there's a little part where they're chasing them because they think Beth is in danger, and it's honestly Beth. I do love Beth because she tries to be kind to everybody, but just because she's nice doesn't mean she's no, just because she's polite, there we go, doesn't mean she's a good or nice person. We can kind of see this because through the book, at first she's like really reserved into herself, and then she goes to hijack a car, a boat, and almost is, they blend really nicely. Like Beth becomes more free and Devin comes more down to earth, and they're a really cute couple. They're really cute. So with the competition, because this is pretty integral to the romance as to why it happened, but the competition for the Calderas, made up names, but there's a lot of scientific terms in this too. There was an attempt, but the competition is a way to garner attention for the field of ornithology, and reporters are brought in to kind of frame it in a fun way for the public. And the Goldstone, the guy kind of in charge of this competition, wants like a very knowledgeable. The reporters are like, that's not gonna work, so let's do a romance between Beth and Devin. And that actually garnered a lot of attention, and it was really fun to see like these two reporters going out and like almost cornering Beth and Devin in like dangerous situations. Like they have birds, they released trained dangerous birds in like public for Beth and Devin to get closer. And I was picking up some romantic undertones from them, and I was correct, and they kissed at the end. I was so happy. But yeah, the birds are like magical. There's like a lapwing, which is like a carnivorous little fluff ball that smells like vanilla. There's like a frost bird. There's like a firebird, and like the Calderas has healing properties for its magic. And then I also saw there's a sequel with Devin's cousin Gabriel. And I might pick it up. I don't know if I will, because this book is like so plot light, and I do enjoy plots. I might pick it up for like another in-between book between like two really emotionally heavy books. But yeah, let's get into the next thing. So I guess my main issue with the book is the lack of plot. There was a lot of fun. It had a great setup. The setup was basically Beth and Hippolyta hunting a bird, and Devin and Oberhefter stealing it. Oberhefter. This book has a lot of very scientific words and like very big names. Do beware. But yeah, and then it started with the competition, and then it kind of just dropped off. I really wish we got to see like the ramifications more of like the competition being rigged instead of just rigged. What we got was like just the tiniest little hair, because Goldstone, Beth's like main head of her department, because she works at Oxford, and Devin works at Cambridge, and they're like rival schools, so there's also like that animosity between them. And Goldstone is really sexist towards Beth, which for his character it does make sense, and he cares more about money, and he kind of uses his students that he's teaching as servants for him. There's a part in the book, like near the very end, where they're getting the Clairedaris out of his study, and the students are running around while Goldstone is on a couch. And it's very telling for his character. And he's very much money, 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 because he was gonna take the clitoris and almost showcase it. And he had the clitoris in a tiny little cage, and it was a juvenile bird, and it was in distress, and it was almost very sickly because it couldn't fly up and reach the sun. That's kind of how it like regained its magic. And Beth, when she finally confronted Goldstone, did confront him about this, and he didn't listen because he was more focused on the money, and he had the idea of doing like, we'll make them so dumb they want to go to ornithology, which is not how most people work. Like most people, if you're met with brashness, you're gonna back away because you don't want to be treated like that, but yeah. Goldstone, I guess my favorite character would be Hippolyta. Again, with the plot points, there was a part in the book where Devin and Beth go to a hotel, and it's the honeymoon suite, and they're like starting to make out, and then they hear like something in the hall, and they look out, and it's Hippolyta and Oberhofter, and Oberhofter is just in a robe, and Hippolyta calls him back in, and then they book it out of the hotel, and then Beth and Devin go to like a boarding house almost situation, and then they get interrupted again by wanting autographs. And there's not much in terms of plot, but I still did enjoy it because it was such a good romance. I also definitely want to talk about my issues with Beth. Devin was okay. I was okay with Devin. He was really fleshed out, and he had plausible faults. Both of them had plausible faults. But Beth, as much as I liked her, it did irk me a little bit when she was written, like she didn't know. It was almost kind of like she doesn't know how beautiful she is, almost, is how I read it. And she didn't really get a lot of wins in the competition before they realized it was rigged. Like, she went back to Oxford one moment in the book, and she worked there, so she should have had the advantage, but Devin got there minutes before, re-locked the door, and was just sitting in Goldstone's desk, which I really feel like it should have been the opposite, because she didn't. Beth, I mean, it's a really minor nitpick. It's just, I wish Beth had more wins. She did have wins and more of a communicative position, but she didn't have a lot of wins in terms of the competition. Even when she did win, when Goldstone chose her to show how progressive the ornithology field was, she didn't want it because she wanted to be with Devin, and Goldstone just kidnapped her, locked her up in a hotel room for a few days. And it was just, she didn't feel like that win was a true win because it was a rigged competition, which I do agree with. I do like Beth as a character. It just feels very like YNE, like Wattpad coded. But yeah. I definitely do want to talk a little bit about the lack of consequences like shown on page for Goldstone, which is pretty accurate, which I did enjoy, but still it was almost empty. Goldstone basically kidnapped a bird and wanted to use it for money and was training birds, including clipping their wings, and he just got thrown out of the society. He didn't really have any repercussions for his actions, which is kind of accurate for some people in power, but it's a book. it's still a good way to showcase this, especially in a society like what's in the Ornithologist Field Guide to Love, like the difference in power, and it talks a lot about how money influences what you can do as an ornithologist. And there's one of the Hippolyta's quotes from her Birds in a Sherry Glass is, "Fortune favors the ornithologist," as in the ornithologist who has a lot of money is going to make it more. I paraphrased it, but yeah, I did give this book like a 3.5, but I did up it to a 4 because I did really like the romance. Yeah. My favorite part of the book was Gabriel, though. He was so funny. I did really like his dynamic with Devin. It was really natural, and it was very much just like cousins, because they're so close. They're almost siblings, and Gabriel is like the no nonsense, and Devin's like all the nonsense. And Devin was trying to coerce Gabriel to let him know where the land with like the most magic expo was, and that's confidential information. And Gabriel was like, no. And then Devin basically blackmailed him with the fact that he knew who actually broke Aunt Mary's face, which I did appreciate that. And Gabriel is shown in the next book. I think I'm going to that next book. I don't know yet. But I did enjoy it. It just, there's no plot. there's not no plot. It's just like a hint of plot. If you're more looking for like a simple book that's not really high stakes, I definitely would pick this up. It's only like 340 pages, so it's not that bad. And especially after like what I read a few weeks ago with Heartless, I just don't know. It left me, I just feel almost hungry after finishing it. I definitely did enjoy it. It just feels almost incomplete, if that makes sense. But yeah, I did enjoy how real it was as well. Like in a lot of books with adultier content, they're always in the woods or on a beach. And this one did address the one thing that I think about as like stuff getting places where like stuff shouldn't be. And I'm gonna be as vague as I can on this because I don't want to make any of you feel uncomfortable. But when they were just starting, Beth was laying down and she like laid down on a sharp rock. And I did appreciate it because even with like this really, it wasn't as spicy as a different book, but for this one it was, I almost want to say like a pepper spice, just like if you pop a pepper kernel in your mouth, I'd say like that vibe. But yeah, it was really sweet. I did really, again, like the romance. And it felt very real, and it's very poetic language. Like there was one point where Devin looked at Beth and he was thinking about one of the great painters falling to his knees, just begging to paint her, which I loved the fact that he wasn't as focused on her appearance as like a lot of other books are. I did really enjoy how he was in love with her mind first. Yes, she's pretty, but she's also smart. She's the youngest ornithologist to ever graduate. Devin is also clever, but he was a little bit older when he started his professorship and graduated. He was 14 when he went off to boarding school, though, and it also addresses the fact that you can't push your kids. Well, kind of. Like, half addresses it. Like, one sentence. But, yeah, it was okay. Not my favorite, but not the book I've hated. I did enjoy it. I might not keep this one. I don't know. I'll have to sit on it. I've been sitting on this one for a few days, but it was a little hard to get through. I can't tell if that's just me or it's like the pace. The pacing was good. It had good pacing. It was just, I love my plots. I love my plots. And I wish it just had a little more plot, but it was a good, fun rom-com that wasn't high stakes, and I could just sit back and enjoy it, which I do really like. All right, my lovelies, go drink some water. I will see you next week, probably for a drawing video. I do have this idea of like taking historical events like the Radium Girls or the Nutshell Cases of Unexplainable and like do them as drawings and like give a little bit of information about them. And as you can see, I fixed my light. My other lamp died, so I had to get a new one, but we're back to good lighting, hopefully. But yeah, thank you for watching, lovelies. I will see you later.